You know we be with it, we off in the hood like some wizards. Nobody ever gave us anything. Made something from nothing, just like magicians. Gotta relearn everything. Just to remember that I was forgetting. Just to remember that we had a vision. Did it all, don't know how I did it. Time to go start season to go and you know those crystal truths. Let them know we in here, yeah, we in the building. Start season to go and you know those crystal children. Back up in the matrix, yeah, we know the vision. Start season to go and you know those crystal children. Let them know we in here, yeah, we in the building. Start season to go and you know those crystal children. Back up in the matrix, yeah, we know the vision. Off on the mission, you know how it goes. Off in the system, they turn up their nose. They took all the soil, but they didn't know. Through the concrete, you see the roads. Eyes ain't open, don't mean I ain't woke. Ain't got no cash, don't mean that I'm broke.
Welcome in. It's wonderful that you're deep diving into the law of one. I am thankful and grateful that I get to share with my co-host, and he shares with me, his co-host, and we share with others this wonderful and rich information because you're worthy of it. It's about your growth and your expansion. We get to deep dive into their episode, or what they call their session 64, and we get to dive into the challenge of wanderers, what the most important moments are. We get to dive into the wanderers and their struggles. We are called to have a journey. There is not one person who has not been called to have a journey. So when somebody says, well, he's been called, but he hasn't. She's been called, but she hasn't. Well, that's a point of view based on who's perceiving it and who's saying it. But we all have been called to share this journey. And all Ra is saying is, I've got some tender nuggets for you. Golden, tender nuggets for you. You don't have to go through what we went through. We'll share it all with you. There's no right or wrong to it. They're not doing anything sneaky. Ra is saying, we're going to give it to you. We're going to help you dive into it and find out why you were called. Why you get to have this experience. Why you get to grow and expand, shift, come to an understanding. Live in that for a while, and then all of a sudden that understanding no longer serves you anymore, and you get to grow and come to a new understanding, and then shift and evolve some more, and then wash, rinse, and repeat. Are you ready? Are you ready to dive into session 64? I know I am. Are you ready, Marcus? Over to you.
Grand day, hey everybody, and welcome to and I'm grateful to be able to share with everybody. And I did my second episode this rising, and this series is called Grand Rising with Christolight. And in this series, we are exploring our universal time matrix, the 15D grid. Along with that, we're also learning about the Ascended Masters crystals and the different rays of light. Our founder claims this right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum. Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with Christolight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe. Ooh. So that right there is a brand new series taking place Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday rising time, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. Grand Rising with Christolight. So tap in and tune in. Join me as we journey into our holographic universe and dive deep into who we are in relationship to the Ascended Masters, these rays of light, and these different crystals that capture these Ascended Master rays as well. And the best part is that we get to discover that we are all Ascended Masters in training as we go through these ascension processes. So you guys can tune in on the Sacred Light Broadcast Network, and you guys can watch it under playlist, or you can just go in there and look at the most recent ones and you'll find it in there. So moving on into our raw material for today, I'm going to go ahead and give us a little rewind since we weren't here last week. And we'll go back to episode 63 to see where we left off in book 3.
To remember that I was forgetting, just to remember that we had a vision. Did it all, don't know how I did it. Time to go start season to go, and you know those crystal truths.
Right? It's about you, and sometimes you're given the opportunity to embody yourself, to understand that you are awareness that is always aware. Your higher being, that part of you, is your awareness that's always aware.
Letting the light shine through my mind's eye. When the light hit my mind, I realized that my lamp was dark. So what was happening to me was nothing more than a bunch of contrast and duality. So I had to peel back and take a step back and shed the layers that I thought were me. So that's kind of like what Ruby does for us. And that's why Ruby is commonly connected to females in the feminine energy. So then the blue kyanite, which is really cool.
Then says, now as this transition continues into fourth density activation, in order to inhabit the fourth density sphere, it will be necessary for all third density physical bodies to go through the process which we refer to as death. Is this correct?
So that was our last episode 63, where we left off on book 3 of the Raw Material Law of One. And without further ado, episode 64, back to you.
Welcome in, Olivia Soul, CEO of Cash. Welcome in, welcome in. Here we go. When I put in to Chat GPT, tell me a little bit about the Law of One, raw, the raw materials. It gave me this. It said, the most important, the importance of the moment. Raw talks about the value of the present moment and warns against over-focus or being over-focused on the future or on spiritual seeking that becomes a mental burden. Hi, Sandra. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. And Chat GPT gave a hint. It said, it told me you might highlight that this is a gentle reminder that enlightenment isn't in the future. It's in the present moment. It's in the now. So as we begin this, when we're talking or when Ra is speaking to us or through us, whether it's me or Marcus, or whether it's someone in the comments, because Ra will speak to you. Ra will encourage you to ask a question that brings to you a new moment, to say, oh, is it like this or is it like that? Is it like this or is it like that? That's a song. Okay, that just came to me. So let's get started with session 64. If you guys have got a book, you don't need to buy a book at all. You don't need to go buy the book. We're not selling the book. The authors have already got paid for the book. We're not in union or league or in collaboration with the authors. You want to go buy the book and follow us? That's okay. We're starting on page 91 for anybody who's into numerology. This session was done July 26, 1981. And the questioner begins. Can you tell me what the transitory distortion is? Transitory. I pronounce my words out in syllables as you know it, and then put the word together. Transitory distortion is. I am Ra. This is a marginal information. The questioner says, then we won't question on it. Could you explain the basis or the basic principle behind the ritual which we perform to initiate the contact and what I would call the basic white magic principles of protection? Ooh, we're diving into a lot of questions that are going around now about magic, about witchery. I am Ra. Due to your avenue of questions, we perceive the appropriateness of, in conclusion, of the cause of this instrument's transitory vital energy distortion. The cause is a bias towards the yearning for expression of devotion to the one creator in group worship. Wow. This entity was yearning for this protection, both consciously and in that it responds to the accountment of the expression. The ritual, the colors, and their meanings are given by the distortion systems of what you call, here we go, church, the song of praise, the combination of prayer or of thanksgiving, and most of all, that which may be seen to be most of thanksgiving and that which is seen to be most centrally magical. The intake of that food, which is not of this dimension, but has been transmuted into metaphysical nourishment in what this distortion of expression calls the Holy Communion. The subconscious reason, it being the stronger for the yearning, was the awareness that such expression is, when appreciated by an entity, as the transmutation into the presence of the one creator. A great protection of the entity has moved as it moves in the path of service to others. The principle behind ritual of the white magical nature is to so configure that stimuli which reach down into the trunk of mind, that this arrangement causes the generation of discipline and purified emotion of love, of emotion or of love, which then may be both protection and the key to the gateway of intelligent infinity. So the entity, the body that's channeling Ra, is having a conflict of interest. She is interested in what she does. She considers it vital to growth and expansion, but she is also interested in service that she calls church and the worship of what she calls God, which is the one true creator. Right? It's okay to be torn like that. I can use myself as an example. When I was a little child, it was easy for me to ask questions. It was easy for people to shut me down in my Baptist background. But I had my mother, when I would go home, she would go, okay, they told me that you were disruptive again. What question were you asking? She allowed me to go ahead and ask the question. She might not have knew the answer, but she allowed me. She would point me in the right direction and allowed me to ask the question again and keep asking. But by the time I got to adulthood, there were things that already were kind of written in that DNA of praise and worship in church, and going to a 2-hour service where you heard everything from the invocation and all the news of the church. By the time you got to the message, an hour had gone by and you're done. So now the next hour is taking in information that might not be for your highest and greatest good, but you had to be there to do that because that was a good parishioner. And you gave tithes. The story might not ring true when you start hearing information that might grow and expand you from that. That's all Ra is saying. And then you have a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is not a bad thing. It helps you grow and move to a answer to the conflict. It might take some time, right? So the questioner says, can you tell me why the slight error made in the ritual, starting with communication 2 sessions ago allowed the intrusion by Orion affiliate entity. So he's back on what we talked about the week before and the week before. And Ra is always accepting. There's something that this questioner needs to get down to the nitty gritty about. So he wants to know more about the Orion affiliates, the entities that came to be part of the negative polarity, service to self. He wants to know more about that. That's what they chose. They got to choose. Our higher beings get to choose what they want to learn. And they get to choose where they want to play. Right? I am Ra. This contact is narrow band and it's pre-conditioned precise. The other self offering its service is the negative path, also to possess the skill of the swordsman. You deal in this contact with, shall we say, forces of great intensity poured into a vessel as delicate as a snowflake and as crystalline. The smaller lapse may disturb the regularity of this pattern of energy which forms the channels for these transmissions. We may note for your information that our pause was due to the necessity of being quite sure that the body, mind, spirit complex of the instrument that's channeling Ra, was safely in the proper light configuration or density before we dealt with the situation. Far better would it be to allow the shell to become unviable than to allow the mind, body, spirit complex to be, shall we say, misplaced. Before I turn it over to Marcus, I'm going to read one more question and Ra's answer. And the divine says, it needs to be heard. Somebody in the room needs to hear this. So ears on. The questioner says, could you describe or tell me of rituals or techniques used by Ra in seeking the direction of service? I am Ra. To speak of that which 6 density social memory complexes labored within and within order to advance is at best misprism of the plane communication. For much is lost in the transmission of concept from density to density. The discussion of 6 density is inevitable. It's inevitable, distorted greatly. However, we shall attempt to speak to your query, for it is a helpful one in that it allows us to express once again the total unity of creation. We're going to do it so that you can understand your one true creator and what has been created and your power in that creation. We seek the creator upon a level of shared experience to which you are not privy. And rather than surrounding ourselves in light, we have become light. Our understanding is that there is no other material except light. Our rituals, as you may call them, are in infinitely subtle continuation, a continuation of the balancing process which you are now beginning to experience. We seek now without polarity. Thus, we do not invoke any power from without. For our research and search has become internalized as we become love light and light love. These are the balance we seek. The balances between compassion and wisdom, which more and more allow our understanding of understanding of experience. I'm excited. I got to slow my roll. To allow our understanding of experience to be informed, that we may come closer to the unity with the one Creator, which we so joyfully seek. Your rituals at your level of progress contain the concept of polarization, and this is most central at your particular space-time. We may answer further if you have a specific query. I'm going to give you back to Marcus. But at the time that this book was written, Ra was a sixth density complex. They rather imbue the light of the one Creator. They became the light. It's not beyond us to do that, but we're still in polarization. We still find conflict between service and just love light and light love. We need to serve. We need to burn a candle. We need to go to church to sit in a cabinet separated by someone who's going to absolve you. You need to go and say some words, even if those words aren't your one true action of your love for the Creator or your God. Even if you didn't sin, you need to go and do confession, because that's a ritual. That's what you have to do. Ra is saying we decided we wanted to be light in order to imbue light. Over to you, Marcus.
Ooh. Man, this is good stuff already. So what's very intriguing is that in my other live podcast I just started, we've been diving into the 15-dimensional universal time matrix that we're a part of. And within that, you can see the different densities. You can see the different dimensions. You can see the different type of archetypes that come into those densities as well. So it's really intriguing when, you're talking about Ra being of the sixth density and all these different things. And there is a couple of things I'd like to share. And I'm not going to go too deep into it because you guys can actually check this out over in the other live, Grand Rising with Christolight, on the YouTube channel, Sacred Light Broadcast Network. And when you look here at this diagram, which is our 15-dimensional time matrix, and trust me, I'm not expecting you guys to catch on first time, but you look at this grid here, this map of our harmonic universe, the 15-dimensional time matrix. You can see the different fields. You can see the sound field, the light field. Then you can see where things begin to turn into form, which is at dimension 12. Now, dimension is not density. That's something that I'm sure we may mix up in our vocabulary when we're speaking, is dimension and density, but they are not the same thing. Dimensions go up and down, basically. densities go out and around. So there's 5 densities within this specific 15-dimensional time matrix holographic universe that we're in. And this is only one universal matrix. There are millions and millions of other universal time matrices. But this is where we are with these current consciousnesses of this human being that we are on Earth. So that's what we focus on, where we are. So as you guys can see here, it has kind of laid out left to right. It says 5 density universes. But what you learn is that Ra is of what density? The 6th density. The 6th density is not on this map. What does that mean? Well, it means that Ra is a part of what you see there in that purple. It says the energy matrix. So he's in the densities. It's not even a he or she. It's literally just sound. It's sound field. And Ra is actually just a syllable for a specific sound field that carries ascended master energies from the one source creator. And then through that Ra sound frequency, it then reverberates down into where you guys see is D15, D14, and D13, which is the primal light fields. So it starts from nothing but just sound after coming from pure source. Then it goes into a light spectrum. And this is why we see the triangle pyramid with the rainbow light fractalizing into the triangle and then turning into different colors, just like in Pink Floyd and other things like that. This is literally what we're going over right now, is basically explaining the depths of what that triangle and the rainbow spectrum coming out of it means. And that is the sound and light frequencies coming into lower dimensional forms. So Ra is one of those syllables of the Ascended Master sound fields that permeates and carries specific traits, knowledge, and attributes for the Law of One to be carried forward from the source. So again, the 6th density is outside of our 15-dimensional time matrix that we are a part of in this incarnation right now. So what happens is that Ascended Master plane, the energy matrix, the 3 primal sound fields, that sound field, it never leaves. It never descends. Now what can happen is the sound field can begin to manifest itself and basically sink itself into different light spectrums, but it'll only be a fractal of it, because the further we go down into the dimensions, the more the pure source energy distorts and fractalizes into different fractals and multiplies and duplicates into more and more forms as we go down into the dimensions. The lower the dimension, the more forms we need in order to sustain and to be able to live our life. So that's why when you're in a lower dimension, just like we are in this 3rd dimension, what you can see on this chart is very, very low compared to the Ascended Masters. Now, this isn't about like, oh, you're like below and you're not as good and you're bad and all this stuff. This is just about what vibration and what dimension you are in the position of experiencing, basically. And it's all here for us to explore in an eternal journey. But the third dimension, as you guys can see, is part of the first density. And then once we get out of the third dimension and go into the fourth dimension, which is the astral, also the Akashic records, the dream state, that's when we begin to go into density 2, where things are not fully carbon matter. Things are now becoming carbon and etheric, metaphysical. This is the metaphysical. So the metaphysical is dimension 4 to 6. And then when you get up to 7, this is when you step into oversoul. And this is where it's just etheric light bodies with no material physicality. And then as it goes up, the less needing or less necessary forms there are for your complex. So the reason why we have mind, body, emotion, and all these different complexes is because of how far down in the dimensions we are, so that we can have the tools and the ways to be able to still have that streamlined connection to the Alpha Omega while we're all the way down here in the third dimension. And that's why we have beings like Ra that are outside of the fifth density universe, who are not subject to the duality, the polarities, and all these different things that come with the lower densities, so that the Ascended Masters, like the Ra Confederation, are able to continuously serve the Law of One down to those that are in the lower dimensions. To help guide the way in the journey of returning back to source. Maybe. There we go. So yeah, it's very interesting when you learn more in depth and what that is, which is kind of, you can see it's right next to this middle one. In the middle one, they call it particle matrix, because it's the matrix where we have matter and energy and light. So that's why they also say, we're the balance. We're both light and dark as human beings. That's why you look at this map, one side is black and white. It's called the Phantom Matrix. You can go ahead and call this the shadow world, or you can go ahead and call this the underworld. And this is where we have shadow aspects of our Christ consciousness rather than the balanced aspects. And then over to the other side is the antiparticle. The antiparticle is pure light. No shadow, no attachment to physicality. It's quite interesting stuff. But yeah, Ra fits in with the energy matrix, that outer band, the 3 primal sound fields. And I know we may think of Ra as a literal hawk or a falcon or a sun and things of that nature, but those are just literal embodiments of the Ascended Master ray of Ra, the syllable, the sound field frequency of Source. being demonstrated through lower dimensional forms, such as a sun or through Egyptian god and things like that. So that down here in this third dimension, we have something that's dimensionally close to being understandable and tangible to our third dimensional consciousness. And I'm gonna leave it right there, let that digest, and pass it back over. Oof.
See, sometimes, just sometimes, things are introduced to us so we can understand it a little bit more. Now, here's the thing. The divine was just trickling in and trickling out and then back in again. And 1039, 139, my heart key. Ooh, I love that. It's not saying that we have to wait to leave this body to move through those levels. The divine says, since these books were written, we as human beings have awakened. There has been so much that we have awakened to. And the divine doesn't use the word awaken. The divine uses the word recall. That a lot of us are being intensely pulled into our recall, but that's only because we want it. The divine is not doing anything without us putting our free will out there. And guess what? We, our higher beings, chose our glorious bodies to come play in this dimension, to see itself in form. I had a kid, a child that was saying, well, I didn't give you permission to have me. They were, making their point that, you had me, it was a mistake. You didn't ask me to be here, blah, blah, blah. And she looked at me, and both of us just giggled because we knew the higher realm of choice that our higher beings chose to come play, and they chose the parents, they chose the lineage, they chose the everything except how each of your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and your great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother were going to choose to use their free will to get to you being born. And she looked at me, she says, do you think she's ready yet? I said, let her play around with the fact that she didn't pick you as her mother. Just let her sit with that a little bit longer. I think she was maybe 13 going on 14. Sometimes we don't have to tell kids, yeah, you did choose me, because they're not going to understand it. They're going to understand it when they're ready, when the recall is there to remember. Your mind, your mind in every cell of your body remembers. Your higher being recalls. That's all that Ra is saying. Ra is saying, if you want us to answer it, we're going to answer it the best we can. But we're 6 density. We don't have bodies like you. I just told you we don't deal with polarity like you. But yet you want to keep asking that question. And in all three up to this 3rd book, the questioner keeps asking Ra the same question, thinking that Ra doesn't understand that this gentleman is looking for a different answer. He's looking for an answer that soothes him. I remember my mother used to tell me, Sandy, no matter how many times you ask me the question and you pose it a different way, it's still the same question. And my answer is still no. No, you can't go outside and play. Right? No matter how I posed it to her. Right? That's all. And Ross just saying, okay, we're going to answer the question again. We're going to let you know that we are not part of polarity anymore. You want us to give you a play-by-play of what happened on our world and how we got to change, to transcend into pure light and pure energy. We got there. But we're not going to have you focused on our past because that takes you out of your present. Right? So let's keep going with the questions. The questioner says, would it be helpful if Ra were to describe the teachings or techniques that Ra used while Ra was third density to evolve into mind, body, and spirit? This query lies beyond the law of confusion. Ra says, I am Ra. This query lies beyond the law of confusion. The questioner says, what about fourth density experience of Ra? Would that also lie beyond the law of confusion? I am Ra. This is correct. Let us express a thought. Ra is not elite. To speak of our specific experiences to a group which honors us is to guide to the point of a specific advising. Our work was that of your people, of experiencing the catalysts of joys and sorrow. Our circumstances were somewhat more harmonious. Let it be said that any entity or group may create the most splendid harmony in any outer atmosphere. Ra's experiences are no more than your own. Yours is the dance at this space-time in third density harvest. The questioner says, the question was brought up recently having to do with possible records left near, in, or under the Great Pyramid of Giza. I have no idea whether this would be of benefit. Will you just, I will just ask if there is any benefit in investigating in this area. I am Ra. We apologize for seeming to be so shy of information. However, any words upon this particular subject create the possibility of infringement upon free will. The questioner says, in previous sessions, you mentioned the gateway of magic for the adept occurring in 18-day cycles. Could you explain, or could you expand on that information, please? I am Ra. The mind-body-spirit complex is born under a series of influences, both lunar, planetary, cosmic, and in some cases, karmic. The moment of the birthing into this illusion begins the cycle we have mentioned. The spiritual or adept's cycle is an 18-day cycle and and operates with the qualities of the sine, S-I-N-E, waves. Thus, there are a few excellent days on the positive side of the curve, and that being the first 9 days of the cycle, precisely for the 4th, 5th, and 6th, when workings are most appropriately undertaken, given that the entity is still without total conscious control of its mind, body, spirit, distortions / reality. The most interesting portion of this information, like that of each cycle, is that nothing of the critical point wherein passing from the 9th to the 10th and from the 18th to the first days, the adept will experience some difficulty, especially where there is a transition occurring in another cycle at the same time. At the nadir, NADIR, of each cycle, the adept will be at its less powerful, but will not be open to difficulties in nearly the degree that it experiences at critical times. The questioner says, then to find the cycles, we would take the instant of birth and the emerging of the infant from the mother into this density and start the cycle at that instant and continue through the life. Is this correct? Mostly, this is correct. It is not necessary to identify the instant of birthing. The diurnal cycle upon which this event occurs is satisfactory for all but the most fine workings. So that that word that I had struggled with was DIURNAI. No, NAL. I've got a light blocking some of my letters, so I'm going to lift my book. The questioner says, am I correct in assuming that whatever magic the adept would perform at this time would be more successful, or shall we say more to his design than that performed at less opportune times in the cycle? I am raw. This cycle is helpful tool to the adept, but as we said, the adept becomes more balanced. The workings design will be dependent less and less upon these cycles of opportunity and more of their in their efficiency. So balance and catalyst. Ra is reiterating that the need of balance and energy, we have to go to our energy centers. That's what we were given it for. It's not all about going and focusing on the times and the intricacies of where everything was placed when we were born. Because if we're totally focused on that and we live life based on the birthing cycle, where the moon was, where the planets were, we're not living life and utilizing, or possibly not. We can balance it, we can use it. But if we're using only that, then we're not balancing so that we can be in our now moment. We have these tools. You have seers who can read the cards or who can do the astrology, but they're a part of your growth and your process. They're a part of how you discern what your action is going to be for living in your now. It's not the end all be all. Over to you, Marcus.
Oof. Yeah, it's fairly intriguing what you just said there. I wasn't able to catch all of it because I was in and out of my room helping my dad out. If I was
One
hearing
love to your dad.
correctly, or at least I shouldn't. Thank you. He's doing wonderful, by the way. And for everybody else out there that has been following my dad's journey, he is doing incredible. He's now hit a plateau in his health where he is really becoming more self-sustaining. As in, I am no longer giving him his meds. I am no longer having to fill up his formula for his only nutritional dependency. He's now eating any and all type of solid forms of food. And not just that, but he's also elevating his diet. He's eating plant-based foods. He's trying new things. He is open to the suggestions that I give him. And it has been just a wonderful, wonderful way to see him rise back into his beautiful form. And yeah, it's wonderful. He's had his first 2 extended weekends and few days in a row of being by himself now. So it's been a wonderful journey. If I believe, I don't want to say correctly because anything that I hear is correct in the moment. But if I heard, I believe what I was hearing was something about how as we go through the cycles of the dimensions, basically, in our human journey, we begin to kind of shed layers of needing more tools, outside support, and other interactions as we continue to raise our frequency up the dimensions. And it's really intriguing because I literally just brought this up on the 15D matrix map on how as we climb up the ladder vibrationally from the lower dimensions and start to break into the higher densities, it's no longer necessary for us to experience human-like things or to experience animal-like things because of the frequency and dimension that we are in, for the embodiment that we are. And I mean, this is just like a prime example that shows us how intricate, how tedious, and how perfectly designed this organic universal matrix is that we are a part of, to where we have all this stuff in place with these dimensions and densities, and they're there, and we experience it, and it's so infinite, it's so eternal that we can either just learn and study about it, embody it, or we can go through life lessons and life and be unconscious of the whole thing, but still be it and be a part of it. And that right there is just like, it blows the human mind. Like, there's no way that the human mind can really grasp that fully. Like, I think about it when I look around every day in my life. And this could be a good practice for people too. And I invite you guys to even try it now if you'd like. Just take a moment and pause and just take a breath. And then direct your mind and just look around you right now. Look around the room that you're in. Look around at all the different forms, expressions, colors, and all these different creations that are all around you. And then take a look at your hand. Just look at your hand. Look at your body that you have. And just really be present with that and feel it. Feel what comes through you, while being present, observing this, and just really try to look at it from a blank slate or innocent mind of curiosity. And for me, oh, look at the mother over there, Mother Gaia. And for me, I look around at all this stuff and I'm just like, wow, how abundant are we? How magnificent and full of contrast, diversity in life is this world that we're in. We have stuff like this, Organite. Somebody put this into a form through their being, came up with the concept of it, and then materialized it. Boom, right here, into this dimension. And this is also by Golden Sun, a good friend of mine in our community. Golden Sun Oregon on Instagram, on Etsy. But then you look around and you have crystals and what they do. We're sitting in chairs, we're sitting at desks that another human being co-created for us to sit in right now in this moment. This chair that we're sitting in, another human being co-created it for us and with us for this moment now to sit in it. Like, that is how divine life really is. And I try to stay in that mindset daily so I can be present with the abundant beauty of what it is that we're here to co-create together. And another thing that's so wonderful about it too is that there really is no right or wrong. It just all is. It's continuous expressions melting and molding into the next expression and then into the next. Even if it's a painful or joyful expression, it then blends into the next octave of what you're sensing and realizing. And then it just keeps on continuing. So I just feel a lot of gratitude in the present. And when I observe and not absorb, I find that I'm able to really feel the beauty of the abundance that we're in. And it's really cool too, because although we're in a lower density compared to the 15th density, or to the 15th dimension, we're in a lower dimension. We have all these tools in material form for us to assist us. And it's so cool because, you would think I'm in a lower dimension, therefore it's bad or negative or whatever. But you get all these beautiful things, crystals, plants, animals, other humans, guides, to experience the beauty of life with because of being in this dimension. So we wouldn't even be able to experience crystals and all these different things if we weren't even in this dimension, which is cool in itself. So basically each dimension has something cool about it, guys. There's not a dimension that is just trash. You go to dimension 1, that's the trash dimension. No, it's all divine. And there's divineness throughout every single dimension, no matter how high, no matter how low. Now, yes, the octaves that you experience could be a little bit more distorted, a little bit more harsher, or a little bit more softer and a little bit lighter, depending upon where you are vibrationally. But again, it's all ever changing and fluctuating. And that's the beauty of it right there. Oof. Back to you.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh. I talked about that yesterday on my Soul Awakening podcast, embodying the universal law number 2, vibration. Everything vibrates. It's constantly vibrating. The thing that helped me to understand the books of Ra more is, like I will say, for me, the Divine Design Lori Ladd. I'm quite sure there are other books that I haven't read yet, that I will be reading, that will add more to me understanding that this third density is not a you were bad people and you had to descend. The divine, the one true creator, was seeking itself in form. It wanted to see itself shift and expand and have a body to do it with. It wanted to shift and evolve. And it invited all those that were already ascended to come play. That were part of the wholeness of the one true creator. When we talk about the ascended masters, and when we talk about the planetary deities that came to play with us, we act as if they're separate from us. Their wholeness of the one true creator come into play. They've already played in other areas. Now they get to play here. And they were given a free will, just like our free will, our body and our mind was given. Our higher beings, that decided to become our higher being, were given free will to choose to be part of what Ra is saying, the service to others or service to self. Now, when our physical body and conscious mind becomes aware of that, we get to make a whole different type of choices, and we get to meld or merge all three, our triune self, and we get to move into those consciousnesses of those higher levels that Marcus was just showing you. You get to be in the physical 3D, but your consciousness is now aware that it can see things in 4D. It can see 3D and through a 4D lens and go, oh, that doesn't bother me anymore. Where that shit used to bother me, oh, no, I just flow right through it. I see it differently. You could be in the 15th dimension, consciously and aware in your body, and your body can take on more light. That's what we came here to do. We came here to absorb more light and grow. Why? So Earth consciousness could play in her playground with us, so that we could grow and expand with Earth consciousness and evolve. And evolve to what? To 6th density or more, just like Ra. And what Ra's telling us now is we don't have to wait for the whole planet to comply. Blew my mind. 3D is not a punishment. It's the divine, the creator saying, I'm seeking myself. I'm seeking myself as Marcus. I'm seeking myself as Sandy. And I'm doing it all at the same time. Why? Because I can. Why did I give them free will? Because I could. Why do I want to be part of every journey and every story, every distortion? Because that's what I'm seeking myself to see, to be, to become. I'm seeking the balance in it both. It just blew my mind. That book, at the right time when it was introduced to me, it helped me bridge what Ra was saying, because some of it is very, very dense, the information. And I wanted to understand it more. Now, is that book going to be my end all be all? No. The Bible wasn't my end all be all when I was a little Baptist little girl. No, I'm going to grow and expand. There's going to be more things that say, okay, now that you know this, here's something more. Let's drop. The divine says, okay, you're ready for some more. Let me drop some more on you. Right? So do we have time for one more question?
Yes, we have time for one more question. And then I also have something very nice for us as well to close out with, just talking about Ra and the history of Ra in our 15D matrix.
Okay. So here's the question. The questioner says, what about fourth density experience of Ra, right? Did I read that? No, I read that already. Hold on. I put my bookmark in the wrong place. Okay, here it is. The questioner says, then to find the cycles that we would take the instant of birth and the emerging of the infant from the mother into this density, and start the cycle at the instant and continue it through the life. Is this correct? Right? And Ross says this is mostly correct. Then the questioner says, am I correct in assuming that whatever magic is adept would perform at this time would be more successful, or shall we say more to his design, that the performed at lesser opportune times in the cycle? Then Ross says, this cycle is helpful. It's a helpful tool. Okay. Then the questioner says, I have no ability to judge at what point the level of abilities of the adept would be reached to be independent of the cycling action. Can you give me indication of what level of adeptness that would be necessary in order to be so independent? Ross says, I am Ra. We are fettered from speaking specifically due to this group's work. For to speak would seem to be to judge. However, we may say that you may consider this cycle in the same light as the so-called astrological balances within your group. That is, they are interesting but not critical. Interesting but not critical. So people who read your astrology, it's interesting, but it's not critical to you. Why? Because you have free will. You are adept to free will. You can say, okay, I can take that information, I can utilize it and make a discernment based on that information plus how I'm feeling this day or opportunities that show up. They're help, but they're not the end all be all. It's not to go and throw astrology in the trash can. There are some people that are called to do that. They are called by the divine. They are tuned in, tapped in, and that is what they are called to do. Because guess what? There are people that need that information so they can make discernment and choices. And there are people that will, that's it. Whatever their astrology says today, that's what they're going to do. Guess what? Like Marcus says, there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There's no hell or damnation, depending on what choices you make to live. You get to live. You get to have a journey. You get to enjoy or not enjoy your journey. These are free will choices of 3D. You get to grow and expand or not. There's no right or wrong to it. There is no right or wrong to it. The divine wants me to say again, there is no right or wrong to it. You have come into your gifts to use them. If you judge them, they will be judged by others. The universe has no recourse but to mirror back to you the action that you take for yourself. It has no recourse but to put you into the presence of people that will judge you based on how you judge yourself. These things that we are being told that's magic and that's negative, or you're going to go to hell because you believe in astrology. You're going to go to hell because you believe in everything that is not the Bible. These are your free will choices based on how you're assessing your life. So if that is what you're tapped into, the universe has no recourse but to bring you people who will be in agreement with that which you agree about yourself. All these books that are being read to you, with you, and for you, and it's because you want some of that information. But it's not the end all. If after you get through all 4 books of the Law of One with Ra, and you're still inquiring as to needing more, that vibration, the universe will say, okay, I'll bring you more. It may not be with ascending beyond limitations. It might be one of Marcus's lessons that he's just started. It might be the next book that I read on my Instagram. It might be the next meditation that I provide for you on my Spotify. But it's about you. Back to you, Marcus.
It's all about you. Nobody else but you.
Oop,
and me.
Do.
What do we see? Do we see that we are the holy divinity? Oh, man. All right. So final segment from my side as we wrap up. This is going to be on the ascensionglossary.com, which is just honestly probably my favorite website ever made. So it's got an index and glossary about galactic and universal knowledge, in depth about specific things. It's very incredible. I've never seen anything like it. But anyhow, ascensionglossary.com, and I'll be putting this in the description for you guys as well on the YouTube and on the Facebook side as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this a little bit for you guys about Ra. So Ra is one. A part of what is being relayed here is that as you hold universal body consciousness, this is another level and layer of healing, of return, of joining, of sacred marriage. This is a part of the universal structure that is the healing of Ra consciousness. Okay, what they are showing me is that the tone, the sound tone, vibration of Ra is one. The Ra spirit as one spirit. The oneness is a lineage and orientation that is not of the universe. It is originated from another creation, another universal time space. This Ra one spirit, this level of consciousness, which is very hard to fathom at the level we are speaking, created this universe. And the one spirit of Ra segmented, exploded, something went on, and the two suns split into this, what I'm seeing here, this wall of time. The wall of time is beginning to merge and heal. I think the reason why we're seeing this is they are showing us the relevance of all time and space. Of all that we've been going through, the planes in order to get to this. Yeah. It's like the individual planetary, solar, galactic, cosmic, universal. We are dealing with, at least in your body at this time, at this moment in time, they are verifying this. Your body has, of course, the genetic ability and agreement to heal and merge universal consciousness levels of this rip through the fabric of time. This rip through the wall in time, that apparently was originally, when did this happen? Does anybody really know? When we talk about how the system became polarized, how did the rip through time happen? Okay, this also seems to have gender applicability. So this has created a lot of different possibilities, I would say, in the realm of creation. But this is a part of the pairs of opposites that were created. I see all of this has to do with polarization and the alchemy into form, as we know. Apparently in this time and space, what is happening with your particular body right now is universal levels emerging and healing the rip through the wall in time. And this is like a ring of fire. It is like a ring. I can't really describe it well. I am sensing and I'm feeling it. Hopefully you can sense and feel this too. But it is an opening that ripped the fabric of the universe. When this happened, tremendous amounts of fragments in consciousness got splayed and sprayed into all kinds of pieces. I don't even know if this is the right word, but unknown spaces. So that really makes a lot of sense. Something that's been coming to me lately is seeing how we've been given a lot of knowledge and we've been given a lot of information that is very spotty. It's almost as if there's holes within the timelines of what has happened in our history here on Earth. There's not like a full straight picture of like, this is what happened since Egypt. You know, this is what happened since Yeshua's been here. There's just like a blank, we don't even know, you know, in their human psyche. So this is kind of like what Ra is talking about here, is that, you know, there's been fragments and distortions within our time matrix. And now some of us souls have been called here to the earth to help reassemble and bring back the time matrix into the law of one. So last part here is, it talks about how my exposure to the Ra families were taken through the 14th dimensional gold ray and 14D portal sometime in 05, then in 07 with Akhenaten. I traveled to the next universe and we had a gathering where communication was not verbal, but in color wave and code transmission. As many of us can attest, this form of communication is like getting imprinted with a ton of multidimensional language, with an incredible amount of information in a few seconds. It is impossible to express that linearly and in words to give a complete meaning. However, that was impressed upon me up there was what was pressed upon me while I was up there was there is a problem with the raw extensions in the lower universe. We are in a phantom section of the universe, and that there are trapped levels of raw families that are entwined with the seraphim and gold ray issues with the Earth and other planets. Think of the infiltration problems with the Golden Eagle grid. So the Golden Eagle grid is one of our main grid points that is in the Middle East. And it says here, think about Iran and Iraq. So that's a major vortex portal on this planet. And that vortex portal has been saturated with distorted energy. And then it's also being used to siphon. So we're trying to kind of regain that law of one grid point of what the Golden Eagle grid is supposed to be. So the Seraphim branches have severe problems with reptoid, Baalil programming, Melchizedek, and other avian hybrids that create problems with them evolving through alien hybridization and stealing genetics. That's like, you can think of, some of the Anunnaki and some of the other negative polarity beings that came for total control. So last part here is the Ra Confederation is a part of the Guardian Alliance that exists through the 14th dimension in the 7 higher heavens and has a major project in finding all their gold ray aspects that got lost down in the phantom dimensions and have reptile hybridization problems. They are linked into the consciousness family of Seraphim. Seraphim is the angels, the archangels. So they have all the genetic damage to deal with in relationship to the Golden Eagle grid and repairing horizontal grids and the respective time fields. So that is also why quite a bit of us feel like we came to this planet and are naturally called to do grid work, because that is what we just spoke on here. Is we are here to do grid work because we are bringing the planetary grid of Gaia back into stabilization with the organic law of one due to the imbalances that have taken place here. And that's that clarion call that was given. And then some of us star seeds and ascended master energies and all these different figures came into these incarnated forms on the planet to help serve the law of one and be a guide and be an example for the lower consciousness on this planet to be able to return back to the true self. So 1133, waterfall. May we allow this to waterfall into the rest of our day. And I want to give you guys one love and thank you for being here with us on this wonderful episode. And thank you, Sandy, for being such a wonderful co-host.
Yes. Thank you for everyone being part of the vibrational. We don't all have to be one believing the same thing. We're just here being one, taking in information, taking what resonates for us to grow us and expand us. So next time, share it with a family member. Share us with a friend who has been asking you questions and you haven't been able to give them the proper answer. Say, hey, I'm going to go on and be in this live and listen to this reading. Maybe you might want to too. Not giving them, not saying this is going to change your life. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. But to share information that has grown you, that they might take it and say, oh, okay. Especially if somebody says, well, how did you get to be so knowledgeable about this? Share where you got it from. I got it from a book. Sandy was reading it. I got it from, I was on live with watching Marcus talk about, wholeness and talk about the chakras and talk about how to apply them, how to utilize them in your life. And I say, I just listened to the information and I wrote it down. Right? What I've learned about this raw material is his language, or not his, their language can be so abstract that I had to ask the divine, help me understand this, because it was starting to cloud me. My ego was starting to go, I don't understand it, and taking over. So the divine showed me another book while I was reading this book that in tandem helped me to understand it a little bit more. It put the divine design broke things down in not linear time, but in time, what was going on. All the things that Ra is trying not to say, to usurp our free will, the divine design, the higher beings that came, that the Creator sent to channel through her to write this book. It helped me to understand. It helped me to understand the reptilians. It helped me to understand where placement of aliens, how, because the Bible never talked about aliens. Are they real? And then this book helped me to understand that they're all part of the one true Creator, getting to choose how they want to play in this game of third density, how we got from fifth density to third density, how we get to shift and transform or alchemize so that we can move back up the densities, or up the consciousnesses of the divine. You got to find what works for you. What works for you. You got to pause for the reflection. And then you got to find where you're grounded at. And I guarantee you'll be grounded for a minute, and then all of a sudden the ground will say, I'm letting go of you because it's time to learn something more. And that ground will go and spit you out and say, okay, where you're going to land, you're going to land in the next evolution of you. And you have to start assimilating and acclimating, assimilating, and then becoming grounded and rooted, or anchoring to the next moment. This is all Ra is saying. Ra is saying, I can't give you all our information, because guess what? You are growing and expanding, and the things that this third density in this world, on this earth, can be so different than ours, but we can help you. But you can't focus on how we did what we did. You can focus on your now moment of how you're doing what you're doing. So your material can be cosmic. You can be grounded in your practical applications. It's all up to you. I thank you for joining us. Hope to see you same Raw time, same Raw day next week. So excited. Thank you, Marcus, for being an absolutely cosmic, that's the word, cosmic co-star. Not just co-host.
Nice. I like that.
Right? We do this together. We call each other co-hosts because we're co-hosting. There's not one, the host. We're co-hosting. But the divine just told me to call him a co-star because he's putting together all the music. He's finding the things to pull up and show you physically how he got to where he got. He tells you the websites that he goes to. This is a co-star. I know. He's going to want to say something about me, but that's okay. I'm not saying this about him to have him have to say something about me. That's not it. This beautiful cosmic body of a being is exploding, and everything that is coming from him being implanted into the earthly realm is for us to grow and expand with nothing needed. Now, he does have things that you have to go pay for, but come on, you go to Starbucks to pay for your Starbucks coffee. You go to the gas station to put your gas in your car. So there are things that will be part of his realm of explosion that you will have to pay for. But this you didn't. All you had to do is sit back and listen.
Mm-hmm.
So subscribe, follow, and share. That's all you got to do. That's all the support you got to do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry, the divine had to just came through.
No sorries. Thank you. And I just want to give gratitude to you and reflect that all back as one.
We are all one. Wholeness and balance, love to everyone. Go out and enjoy your Wednesday. It's not just a hump day. It's not just a get over day. It's let me go explore me today and go be that divine creator that you were meant to be. Thank you. Peace. One love.
Ashe. What is coming up in this series?
Hey, beautiful souls. Let's dive into something magical today. Have you ever heard of the Ascended Masters? Think of them as wise, loving guardians, beings who've walked the earth, mastered their spiritual lessons, and now guide us from higher realms.
Beautiful, beautiful matrix grid. So you could connect with Amethyst, and then intentionally connect with Saint Germain. And then you can work with Saint Germain and Amethyst. GSF, God, Sovereign, Free. So that's just like the phrase that we like to use, that we carry through the universe to help us remember our divine sovereignty as the one that is experiencing itself. So there are three original primal order sound fields that make up the ray aspects of our entire universal creation in the universal time matrix. The solar rishi are the first triad of light manifestations that make the universal trinity, that are projected from the emerald order and blue flame, the gold order and gold flame, and amethyst order, violet flame, lines in the light body of the planet Earth. The Earth consciousness body is directly interconnected in all harmonic universes to interface with the human consciousness, which is its life form expression in all densities. In the fifth harmonic universe, there is no dimensionalization into matter forms.